Hello everybody, this time I want to talk about resources. Let's assume we have a new employee in our company, an instructor, a captain or a technician, and you have to enter the data now into the system, the properties of this resource. Every resource belongs to one organization and one location. And depending on the value of the location or the organization, you might have to enter further properties. For example, the name, or for example, the first name, or the unique ID, or any other kind of property. And that is what I want to show you now. Okay, here we have the Mint page, and since we want to enter a new employee, we are working in this area. So a right mouse click here, selecting new, brings up this dialog. And as you saw in the introduction, there are two very important properties, the organization and the location, that we have to select first. This is because based on the selection that you do here, there might be different properties in a second step that you have to fill out. So we have the flight training department. You can see here, this is flight training under human resources. You could select any other department here. And in the same way, we have our location Kiel. Then we click next, and now this dialog opens. And as I said, these properties here are based on the value that you selected for the organization and the location. I think it's a good idea to make a second example after this one that shows this difference. Okay, so let's say, for example, we have our new employee, it's Bob Seeger, and we have an ID here, which is mandatory. This M indicates mandatory, and every company has their own logic to fill out the ID. So let's say in this case it is Mint 0006, for example. There is also the possibility to have default values, like in this case the resource type, there's a default value because we are talking about human resource in this area. Then the cost per hour, let's say 120. Organization and location again, but you can't change it here anymore. Then you can enter the URL for the photo and a seniority. Let's say, for example, this is employee with the seniority number 125. It is very important to point out that the collection of these properties depend on your organization. Your administrator can activate further properties like date of birth or any other address. So whatever you are interested in can apply here. That is done by your administrator. We click on OK, and now the data is sent to the database. Okay, and here is our person, Seeger. Here he is. So we included our new employee, Bob Seeger. Let's do another example. In this case, we want to enter a new simulator, which is also a resource, and the way that Mint deals with resources doesn't make any difference between human resources or any other kind of resource. Of course, now we select another department, facilities and devices, flight training again, and let's say the location is Kiel again, and now we want to enter a simulator here. And you see already we have here other properties than before. For example, you don't have a first name because a first name does not apply to the simulator. So based on organization and based on location, there might be different properties to fill out. And one other thing is, if there are mandatory properties like name and ID in this case, if they are not, until they are not filled out, the OK button is not enabled. So let's say this is our SIM2. ID is SIM002, for example. Cost per hour 1,200. Capacity is 3. And of course, we again have the possibility to enter here the URL of our picture. We then click on OK, and now again this data is sent to the database. I hope this explains a little bit how to enter new resources into our system. One last note on this. When you enter a new resource here, you are not looking at the qualification. Qualification is a completely different story, and I'm going to talk about that in another video.